domination bracket. Like you struggle to get a bigger sample size out of what we're dealing with than that.
Yep, I believe so, and we are going to be checking out Hunterace versus Swidz. Now we're getting straight on with it, with Swidz with the Demon Hunter banned out, and Hunterace having his Warrior banned out as well. So Hunterace doesn't get to pilot the most overpowered card in the history of Hearthstone, the Warmaul Challenge, according to him at least. But he does have the Mage Warlock Rogue once again, and Swidz on Warrior, Rogue, and Warlock. So let's take a look at Hunterace's lineup. Just to remind you guys, if you haven't missed it, but the Kobold Sticky Finger is an ongoing card, that not only in his Warlock, but also in his Highlander Mage as well.
Yeah, clearly, I don't know how much of this is intentional and how much of it is just sort of happy splash damage, but, you know, Hunterace has the answers for the little sprinkling of Highlander Hunter that we're seeing from quite a few people. Because a lot of people are saying, well, you know, if you're banning Demon Hunter or if you're banning Warrior, is it really worth running weapon destruction just for that one other class that is going to be playing weapons? And then sort of Stormhammer kind of creeps up into the corner of the frame.
Right.
It's like, guys, like, are you forgetting about me? Like, I'm still a really good card. So yeah, the fact that Hunterace does still have so much weapon destruction running through his decks, I think puts him in a good spot against some of the other lineups. But against Swidz, it is really just that Warrior that he has the effect against. And again, remember, Swidz is running Bomb Warrior, a bomb variant of this No Hands Warrior package, which means that Wrench Caliber being stolen by a Sticky Finger is an enormous swing.
It really is, and as I mentioned, he isn't running Horde Pillagers, so he doesn't have the sort of regenerating weapon style that some Bomb Warriors, such as Yala, with a more control-y version, is running. But also, it's just interesting, these two lineups themselves, because it's the clash, right, of the slow-value Highlander-esque decks versus Swidz just saying, I'm going to hit you really hard in the face, because not only does he have the Warrior with the bombs, he has the aggressive Warlock, we just saw the potential that deck has, and he also has the Stealth 2 of Rogue, which is, you know, can be quite an aggressive form of Rogue in itself, as well as having the ability to go a little bit long. So now we just get to see last hero standing, slow and value versus, faster damage. Let's see who wins. I think it's going to be interesting.
And there's also a bit of history in this matchup, because it was Hunterace versus Swidz at the end of last season that really sealed the fate of the relegation in this division, in the division that they were both in, because it was Orange's life on the line versus Swidz in this exact matchup. And obviously that was a very emotional moment that involved including Hunterace, because Hunterace and Orange were such good friends, and essentially, you know, Hunterace was playing for Orange's freedom in that regard, and wasn't able to do it, with Swidz eventually picking up the win. And in fact, it was Hunterace losing to basically everyone in the bottom half of the table except Orange that was actually like a big talking point or a big factor in Orange eventually, you know, being relegated on tiebreakers.
Right.
So this, the history of this matchup in Grandmasters at least has told a lot of story in a very short time so far in the short history of Grandmasters.
Yeah, it must feel pretty bad, but we are into a fresh year, and Orange is still around doing plenty of work with his stream, and also I have no doubt helping out not only his friends who are in Grandmasters, but also working to be back in Grandmasters. He is working so hard, you know, the online cups, qualifying for the Masters tours, and honestly, if anyone can come back, I would happily put Orange at the top of that list, because I have no doubts about not only his ability, but also his work ethic as well.
Yeah, for sure. And if you guys are interested, you know, Orange is doing a fairly unique thing where I believe he streams the majority of his open cups that he competes in. You know, trying to qualify back through the Masters Tour process back into Grandmasters. If you want to go check that out on stream, don't expect him to be, you know, laughing and having a good time with his chat and interacting with you too much. But if you want to experience close up what that process is like for a top level player, then I think they're a fascinating thing to watch.
Yep, we get to check out the deck list of what they're going to be queuing in first, I believe. And I'm excited. We get to see the Warlock already again, Sottle. Is it going to do it all over again? Because this, as I mentioned earlier, this is the list for me that just looks like it has the most potential to actually stick around. We talked at the start of the day that in terms of meta, I feel like we're still very much in the experimental phase. Nothing really for me has been locked down that hard, especially with the recent nerfs. But I do feel like this Warlock does have the most potential going forward.
It's definitely not as funny as making giant shield bearers and stone tusk balls, though. Will you concede that point at least?
Yes, you can do. When you put Stone Tusk Boar in an actual deck, then questions have to be asked and fun is probably going to be had, similar to the combo hunter deck that is knocking around that I have lost to a couple of times. But yeah, for me, if you actually want to win games of Hearthstone consistently, this one looks like the better one.
Again, since I know that you don't get to see a lot of Americas because you sleep like a normal person, did you happen to see Monsanto's deck last night?
I did not. Is that something I need to check out?
He's playing a 2-ofs Dragon Hunter, Dragon Aggro Hunter with 2 Stone Tusk Balls just in the deck.
Nightmare.
What, as the only beast, I'm guessing?
Yep.
Okay, sure. Okay, that's funny. I will concede that one. That is very funny. I know what I'm doing after the stream. No, I'm not going to cast for multiple hours of Hearthstone a day, then take a break. I'm just going to go and watch more Hearthstone once I'm done.
Yep. That's
As is
what I
often
do.
the case. Yeah, let's get into it. Game number 1 between Hunterace and Swidz. The winner is done for the day, gets to relax, and gets to go and be comfortable in tomorrow to play out for that final few points that are up for grabs. Swidz on the bottom on the Warlock, Hunterace on the top on the Warlock, but 2 very, very different lists.
And the absolute madman has done it again. Imprison Scrap Imp, Hand of Gul'dan, opening hand. Doesn't have the discard effect just yet, but he does have a magic carpet to make up for it, which is not too bad either. Also, he's clearly feeling it, because I think Swidz was entitled to just take a break here for a few minutes, right? And he clearly, I would imagine, just chose to just keep on rolling and go straight into this next series against Hunterace.
Yeah, I'll be honest, as the host of the show, I was getting fully prepared to throw to a break, and he did not want to.
Yep.
He wanted to just lock it in, like, let's go again. I did really well, let's keep that motivation going. I like it, honestly.
Yeah, he's clearly feeling it. He looks like he's having a good time on camera, just based on, how animated he is being, but yeah. Just keep on rolling, jamming some zoo, having a good time. Giving myself a round of applause.
Yeah, Swidz is his own best fan, or number 1 fan, right? Gives himself a clap every time he makes a good play. That's some positivity for you right there. What do you make of the egg play now? Because this is where we see it deviate a little bit from the Uber plays of just go straight into imp, into discard, and so on. But this seems to me like Swidz really wants to live tap this turn and try and get to a discard before he drops his scrap imp.
It does look that way, yeah. You do want to line those 2 cards up, especially when you have them both in hand already. I think if you just have a Scrap Imp in your hand and you don't have a Hand of Gul'dan, you're not going to sit around and wait for like a Hand of Gul'dan and a discard effect to appear. But I think just having the Hand of Gul'dan makes that a little bit more attractive. But Swidz does end up just playing the curve anyway.
Does he believe?
Is this going to happen every time? Every time you're just going to suggest yeeting the Soulfire, aren't you? It's just
yes.
100% rate so far of you suggesting that play.
Make sure you tune in next week to find out how low my win rate is when I practice this deck on ladder.
Yeah.
So wait, what was your worst performing card? Yeah, it was Soulfire. Every time I played it, I just lost. It's weird, right?
My Soulfire drawn win rate is like 5%. I don't understand what I'm doing wrong.
But I will be interested in this specific matchup because, one, there's so much removal that does not care for your minion's health, i.e. Plague of Flames, and also Dark Skies can rack up damage, especially with the help from Moag Artificer. So I would say this is probably maybe the matchup that Swidz really did not want to queue into game 1.
Tempo Blood Mage with Rain in hand would be a little bit surprising to me, but looks like Hunterace is going to go for it. Fair enough. Hunterace now, I guess, just breaking down how aggressive he wants to be here. He's just going to put the damage in. Make sure he can deal with this in a timely fashion if he needs to, which I think makes sense when he has, Rain of Fire, Dark Skies, all that kind of stuff in his hand that, you were saying how Plague of Flames specifically ignores health, but actually all of their other removal does very much take into account the amount of health that is in play.
Yeah.
So I think chopping into it does make a lot of sense.
Yeah, he could have even preemptively just popped the egg and then just had one of the imps take down the 3-1 as an example.
Sure.
But yes, this is a much more hybrid between offensive and defensive, right? He's not going to go for the Nightshade this turn. Going to actually just play the Evil Genius, pop the egg, and have 2 lackeys to go. So what do you make of not Nightshading? What's the reasoning behind that for Swidz? Because to me, I see a Hand of Gul'dan and a Nightshade.
Yeah, but that he will always have a Hand of Gul'dan and Nightshade, right? He has other things to play this turn, which he feels like are more powerful than just a 5/5 rush. Okay, we'll deal with that in a second. But you know, it's not like he's going to draw a more expensive card than Hand of Gul'dan, and then it doesn't work.
Right,
there
right.
Just isn't one on the deck, so he's totally free to just do that whenever he needs to.
Yeah, and I think the big kicking point was the Scrap Imp had already gone off, right? So if it had one more turn left, I think he definitely would have played the Nightshade to fill up his hand more, so the Scrap Imp gets more value, but it had already gone off, so it may as well just make the better overall turn.
Exactly. And the longer he can just keep having powerful turns without drawing the cards, then the more likely he is to find second Imprisoned Scrap Imp, and then he can just go all over again and make those cards line up nicely into each other. So, Lorewalker Cho, Raven. Impact this game, yes or no?
Probably just no, because he can just Rain of Fire if he really wanted to. I'm a little bit surprised he didn't, actually. I guess his follow-up turn's bad if he plays Rain of Fire now?
Almost out of time.
Maybe is. I wonder how long he's okay with leaving this on the board as well, because it's a little bit of a problem for Swidz if he doesn't get the second Evil Genius as well, because it is a board space, right?
That's true, yeah. But also from Hunterace's side, it's 4 extra health, well now 3 extra health for Dark Skies as well, which, you know, can mess with his removal. So it's kind
but I think he plans on trying to kill it before he even plays a Dark Skies anyway, right?
Sure. Like, I don't really think giving the zoo any of this kind of weird removal would be the end of the world if you need to do it. But yeah.
What if he gives him all of the removal and then he can't draw cards because his hand's full of removal? Oh, is that the genius play?
Okay, see, this turn he chooses to pull the trigger on the Nightshade because it was just a better board state for a 5/5 rush, right? Like, there's just no real need to panic. That combo is always going to happen at some point. And you got much more value out of it there than he would have on the previous board state, which was just a bunch of bombs.
Yeah, and that's again something interesting about playing certain styles of decks with a few little combos in them, is that you need to learn how and when to combo, but you also need to learn when not to do it. You know, you can't just snap combo every single time and presume it will work, right? As you said, there are just better turns and relevant turns as to when you can get these little combo pieces going together.
So currently, how much health is this on board? 3, 8, 11, 13, 15, 16? That is way too much. Dark Skies would cut it down to 10, at which point you could life tap back up to 9 cards, and then Dark Skies would still be 1 short. Oh, sorry,
Rain of Fire would
cut it down to 10, and then you could life tap, and Dark Skies would still be 1 short, I believe.
Almost out of time.
This is the awkward thing, and I guess the other, although the Warlock on paper looks good versus the Zoo variant, Swidz is, especially being able to get the Hand of Gul'dan off, he's not running out of cards and everything's cheap, whereas a lot of what Hunterace wants to do or could do is actually quite expensive when the game is going at this pace, right? Like, if he just plays Krons, well, okay, it draws him Galakron, but it's 6 mana almost do nothing. Veiled Worshipper, Sticky Fingers, like it's almost like 4 mana, 5 mana pass, right? To the effect of what's going to happen on the backswing.
Right.
So Hunterace is going to have to very carefully manage his turns and his mana to be able to stick around here, because that is a big magic card.
That is the world's most illegal Argent Squire as well. Just 4/3 Rush Divine Shield for 1 mana. Oof.
And something to remember. So Swidz has already seen a few Galakron Invokes. Those are the cards that activate Plague the most.
Yeah.
Well, he's already seen some, so...
Yeah.
And he's got 7 minions on the board, so... This is as safe versus Plague as you really want to get. And honestly, even if a Rain of Fire comes down, his Carpet, which is, best friend number 1 right now for Swidz, is certainly going to live through a Dark Skies, sorry.
Wow, this trade.
I like it, honestly. Like I said, the Carpet's the most important thing, and his board is easily big enough.
He did replace less health with more health, which I suppose is very relevant in this position.
Moag, Dark Skies?
Doesn't have the mana. That's 8, he has 7.
Oh, sorry. I'm being silly.
Best he can do is life tap Moag Rain of Skies once. So he'd be starting with 9 cards? What? Wait, what's that?
What are you calling the removal spells is getting progressively funnier. So.
What did I say then?
You said, so Moag, tap Moag Rain of Skies.
Rain of Skies,
it's like,
brilliant. It's
so the sky's raining on me? I can't wait till the next thing you call it.
Well, since we got distracted by me messing up the name, I didn't actually get to count how much damage this did, so
let's find out together. Yeah. I'm gonna go for not enough.
Yeah, very unimpressive. And that is 16 on board.
16
so he
exactly.
Is just straight up dead, yep. Quick and easy. Game 1 over to Swidz, despite all Hunterace's best efforts to remove his minions with the Dark Rain of Plague Skies.
Yeah, I'm going to hit you with a bold prediction, Sottle, and I think next week we might see the Warlock slot, because it is a 10-deck format, they have to make a deck for every class. We might see the Warlock slot contain a few more than just the French zoos next week, because I feel like this deck it's looked impressive last 2 games, obviously, but the more zoo style that Swidz has brought this week just feels great because of that consistency, or backup consistency you have there.
Yeah, I believe Gallon is running it in America's GM right now, which is no great surprise. Gallon has been one of the most vocal people about this deck, hitting High Legend with it and tweeting various lists. And I believe the TJ and Dan were talking about his stats with the deck in GM so far, and it's like 15 and some small 1-digit number overall, like 15 and 4 or something ridiculous. He's gone with Zoo throughout this tournament, so it is showing success for multiple players throughout this tournament. And yeah, maybe we will be looking at something closer to like a 50-50 split when it comes to the 10-deck format next week.
Yeah, especially when you have more flexibility, knowing that one, Warlock might be respected enough to get a ban anyway, but also that you run in enough decks to maybe go X amount of control, X amount of aggro, and maybe Warlock just fits into the aggro slot, because there aren't tons of actual what you would call like raw aggro decks right now, is there? Even Highlander Hunter is, well, okay, it can play aggressively. Is it an aggro deck? Like, not quite. So the Zoo, I think, creates or fits into a slot that doesn't really have too many other archetypes ready for it right now.
Now, 2 obs Dragon Hunter with 2 Stone Toss Balls.
I mean,
that's an aggro deck. Mwah! That is an aggro deck right there.
I'm going to be playing that later, no doubt. I'm just going to double check that if we are going to a break now. I'm not sure if Swidz just gets to decide going forward anyway, so we'll find out shortly. Yeah, okay, we are. Yeah. We are going to go to a break now while we get ready for the next game. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more Swidz versus Hunterace.
Can you hold off on that for a second?
I really want to finish it.
It'll be a short interview, don't worry. Just set it to the side. Okay. Thanks. Appreciate that. Thanks for sitting down with me. All right, ready? All right.
Okay.
Hey everybody, I'm Doa. I'm here with Hunterace, Hearthstone's world champion, of course, and fan of ice cream, I've heard as well. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about your history in gaming.
Is this guy kidding? I'm the Hearthstone world champion and he makes me wait to eat my ice cream? He knows the longer he talks, the soupier the ice cream gets. I'm a world champion. I don't eat soupy ice cream. Look at the ball slowly melting, slowly losing its wonderful shape.
As I was saying.
Quick adjustment.
Oh,
to
no,
your mic.
go ahead.
Whoa, but it's melting.
Yeah, but the battery is getting kind of low.
Okay, now I'm getting really angry. I mean, look at it, and his dumb face. It's taunting me.
So as I was saying, I mean, if you think about it, that bite of ice cream, right? You feel it like making every sort of taste bud burst with like enjoyment. You know how that is?
What was the question again?
How do you build a deck in Hearthstone?
You're
I'm not.
TJ,
and
where's
you
the ice
forgot,
cream?
We are back and going to continue on Swidz versus Hunterace. Swidz currently in the lead, 1-0 with this Zoo Warlock. And honestly, Sottle, I'm just excited to see more games of this list. I just want to see what it can do. And the more games we see, the more we can kind of decipher whether it's, high rolly or whether it can consistently get games, whether it draws the insane early game or not. Because as we've talked about before, yes, the Imprisoned Scrap Imp is insane. The discard with the Hand of Gul'dan is insane. But what happens when you get one? What happens when you get two? What happens when you get none? Can you make things work or not? That's the question we're going to get answered, I think.
Another question we're going to get answered is it a sweep deck? Are we in that world where in the year of our Lord 2020, we're actually going to be seeing Zoo sweeping series in Last Hero Standing like it was a dream hack in 2017 or something ridiculous like that? Like, come on. Is this really the world we live in right now?
It could well be, because as I mentioned right at the start of the series, this is the way it's shaken out is Swidz has like an aggro lineup, kind of, and Hunterace has a slow value based lineup with Highlander decks and his Galakron Warlock. So if Swidz's offense was too quick for a Galakron Warlock to survive, it feels like it's probably too quick for a Mage to survive as well.
Yeah, I wonder if Mage might just have a little bit more defensive capability against it, just because the board locks really come into play. Like, the problem... So, when Galakron Warlock is dealing with it, they clear a board, and then the zoo just has plenty of cards to refill, right? But if you're just going to freeze instead and just deny them those board spaces to play with, it might actually be more difficult for them to actually like achieve strong things with their cards. So I wonder whether the combination of that plus, you know, the Bone Wraiths and the Kartuk Defenders and so on, which are much better defensive taunts than what Galakron Warlock plays, then maybe that might be a little bit more effective in this matchup. But scrub all that, because lo and behold, Swidz has hit the absolute nuts yet again.
Yeah, and I don't know the answer to this, but it's my question off the back of your point, just while Swidz plays this in Prison Scrapping, almost certainly.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
This, honestly.
Wait, it won't go off at the right time if he plays it now, right?
It's a Turner, yeah. I mean, he has a buffer, essentially. Like, this turn was powerful, and he has a buffer where he can still do powerful things with Scrap Imp and Nightshade Matriarch, so I'm kind of on board.
Yeah, sorry. So just so what I was saying is, can Mage freeze consistently and for long enough to stop this deck? Because if you don't freeze once, the minions hit you pretty hard if the deck does what it needs to do.
Yeah.
So very interesting to see how that pans out. Reno is in hand though for Hunterace, and that Bone Wraith as well. So he has the defensive capabilities. If he can squeeze in the Mana Saber, I feel like a lot of the time that works a defensive manner as well, because it ramps you to your better cards.
Or Hunterace does also have Mana Saber into Reno, which is a devastating combination. I think one of the biggest reasons why Mana Saber is played in this deck. I mean, first, it's just a good card, especially in a Highlander deck. There's a good chance that Mana Saber is at least top 30. But that combination of curve of just Mana Saber directly into Reno the Relicologist.
Yeah.
Whoa.
But what is pretty good is Nightshade Matron into exactly Hand of Gul'dan. It's a pretty good turn 4 play.
What to do? What to do?
Andres wondering whether he wants to coin the Mana Saber and then just Bone Wraith the turn after, I guess. Or the other way around. I guess it doesn't.
Runs out on me.
Oh, I guess it does change a few things, right? Though, because he could play Malagos.
Yeah.
I think if you're ever going to Mana Wraith with coin, you do it now, right? Because it's as small as the board's ever going to be to get away with a air quotes greedy play.
Hold the dog and bone, Raven. The man who had such delight in making fun of me mashing together 2 cards last game just called this Mana Wraith.
Same thing.
And you fix your face a little bit, huh?
All I saw, Sol, was a mana card, as in a card with the name mana in it, got played, and the opponent's cost of minions changed. Based on pure just timing than anything else, as opposed to any direct link. But it's too much hanging around with you. Can't say words. Hunterace shaking the head, though. He's just not happy, is he?
Not a happy boy, no.
Is it a surprise that Swidz did not go for the Nightshade here?
It's same answer as last game, really, right? Like, it's just such a powerful card to be able to get the rush out of.
It's just that he's going into... So now his Scrap Him goes off without playing Nightshade. And I know that buffs Nightshade, right? But also, what he's getting from this turn does not feel better to me than drawing that many cards and having a 5/5 on the board.
I will say you do have to be kind of concerned about a counter swing as well, because obviously Reno is a beating for this deck in the early game. It's kind of going to be rare that you can quite get enough stats on board without the absolute giganuts to resist Reno on 6. So possibly having the Nightshade Matriarch as a counter to the Reno might feel important from Switz's perspective.
What to do?
Okay.
But he did also, he played an Evil Genius that turn, which he wouldn't have played if he played the Nightshade Matriarch. So he did, in essence, still draw 2 minions that turn instead of drawing 3. So he's down 1 in the equivalent play. But yes, I agree that just like random vanilla lackeys aren't as good at being buffed as Argent Squires and various other things that he has in his deck.
I generally just wondered if just having the 5/5 on board, what does Hunterace actually do about that? Because even with 5 mana, there's not really a way to kill it, right? If the Mana Saber goes into it, you're probably happy anyway. Just interesting, that's all. Like I said, I'm by no means an expert on this specific deck. Most of the decks, but not this one. But yeah, the 5/5 looked good to me, but let's see how it plays out here. And this pint-sized summoner, he's going to do some work, actually. Just reducing this cost down a little bit is often enough.
Yeah, and you can see the power of the counterpunch here, right? Like, it's not Reno specifically that he's trading back into, but he is dealing with a big threat on the board that his board otherwise can't deal with, and he's now dumping enough health onto the board where Reno probably won't be a big factor. Plus, he can just, kill the Mana Saber anyway, which shuts off that Reno option.
I wonder how it looks like, how this board looks like at the end of the day. I wonder whether he wants to go drop an evolve on the evil genies, maybe? If he's using this kobold to do that plus the 1/1 trade in. Can evolve the evil genius, puts more health on the board. It is just a 2/1. It's almost certainly going to get better, but he's going a little bit different.
He'd have to sacrifice his pint-sized summoner to a trade to do that, right? Because I think killing both of those minions was pretty important that turn.
Okay, I didn't know whether he was going to leave the Malygos, but yeah, it looked pretty good, especially with the rush on the Matriarch, of course.
Yeah. Five-eight Taunt Rush.
Yep. Honestly, not a card I found myself overly liking too much. Although I 100% understand the value in the turn it's played. It just gets so much weaker afterwards.
Are you entirely convinced you want to leave up a 7/5 here? Oh, he is.
Nope.
Okay.
Oh, Fiendish Servant with Magic Carpet as well. It's not buffed, of course, but still, it's still like just raw value, right?
Yeah. And the carpet is insane here. Obviously, Hunterace's trade here is to just make the most disruptive thing on the board, take the most power off, and then just hopefully 5 more damage actually just has to go into this thing. Magic Carpet is, of course, the one card that just makes a mess of that plan completely, because now just everything goes through to face.
I am interested here, though, because Swidz knows there's a Malygos card as well, so it's just interesting to see how much he wants to push or to try and hold off. Then again, he knows if it is Flame Strike, exactly, then he has some wiggle room because it can't come down next turn. So then, I guess on the flip side is, he can draw cards later if he needs to, but this turn he can go off in terms of not only damage, but board presence. What is Reno going to do to that Sottle?
Absolutely nothing. He's going to go hide in a corner and cry and wish that he brought a bigger gun.
Yeah, or 2 guns maybe, I don't know. Like if you can hold them both.
11, 12, 14, 9... Nope, 2 guns would still be 1 short.
I think you'd take that if you were Hunterace right now, and that is going to be a concede. And that, again, not that I'm saying every game's going to turn out like that, but I thought the mage would struggle just a little bit, because we saw even then, although there were taunts, but there weren't any freezes drawn because there just wasn't the time. And yes, he could have drawn 1 or 2, but that's all there is in the whole deck anyway. So I think it was just a little bit slow. He had some taunts, he had some game, but again, if the deck just pops off, I don't really know what you're supposed to do as the opponent, right? You almost literally have to be playing a warrior to either A, deal enough AoE, or have cards like Brawl that don't care for health. It's crazy.
Yeah, when you get a Scrap Imp buff on everything, and then you rush all those minions with Magic Carpet, like, those minions are so good that they could almost be Demon Hunter cards.
It's true. I'm not going to argue with that. I will say what impressed me in that game, if we're being semi-serious, was the not Nightshading to draw the maximum amount of cards.
Yeah.
Surprised me.
Yeah.
But it still looked insane.
Yeah, but then
like the game still looked
exactly.
insane.
You can see the power of the 7/7
Yes.
when it came down afterwards, though, right? Yeah.
And like I said, I am convinced. It's just, I definitely think it's, you have to see it to believe it, because it feels so weird. I'm not going to Nightshade draw into the turn my imp pot goes off. What?
Yeah.
But then you see it play out and you're like, oh, yeah, okay, cool. Makes sense.
Oh, this is a Raven game if I've ever seen one.
Get that Soulfire aimed at the face, Swidz. Show me how it's done. Imagine, honestly. Imagine. I would start
Realistically-
clapping for Swidz at this point.
Realistically, the alternative is life tap here and then magic carpet on curve next turn, and then try and manipulate a better odds Soulfire on the following turn.
66% chance.
Uh-huh.
Oh, come on, Swidz. Don't let me down. I would have loved it, honestly. You're 2-0 ahead. Lose a game, it's fine. Definitely
sure
not the
that's
attitude.
Quite the attitude.
Yeah. There's a reason I'm not in this tournament.
Yeah.
And that's just one of them. Ooh, not saving it for the Sage.
So yeah, if the plan comes together here, I believe this is an on-curve magic carpet. It is a 1/6, and there's only a 1/4 on the board. It seems kind of exciting.
Already 2 1-drops in hand as well. So although the deck obviously runs 1-drops, if you already have them in hand ready for the carpet, that just makes it even stronger, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Even the beaming sidekick, which means it actually buffs the health of the magic carpet as well.
Yeah. Because it does look like you are going to take something like a 66%er with this Soulfire, so then you ask the question, well, you know, why didn't you just do it on turn 2? But the difference is you can manipulate a position where, like, you either discard the Soulfire 66, discard the hand 66, or just some random Garbo 1-drop, right? So it's not as punishing as discarding your magic carpet instead.
And this is kind of a cool game for me.
Never mind. Guaranteed.
Hey, I got you, friend.
Kind of a cool game for me as well, because he hasn't drawn Scrap Imp. So what does this look like, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is like the iteration we haven't really seen much, is the no Scrap Imp game.
Yeah.
The light
So
protects.
yeah, very interested to see. The extra 1-drop there means, as you said, guaranteed. So we can Soulfire away the Defender of Argus, almost certainly.
I'm really
it's just
happy
got
to
the most
see
health.
this Guardian Org Merchant getting some runtime as well, because when this card was announced, like, me as the dirty degenerate aggro player that I am, like, this card excited me a lot, because it just felt like giving random stuff to Bind Shield was, you know, a not quite abusive Sergeant level effect, but at least something in that ballpark, and so far it hasn't really been, you know, living up to that level of hype.
Oh, well, there's Zephyrus. Oh, the Expired Merchant. Well, Swidz is drawing his deck.
Yeah.
I will say as well, for a second, I was looking at the Augmented Merchant on the carpet, but obviously that gets worse because the Skyvateer is on board, which can proc anyway the shield. So I think it's just overall better to just kill the minion, save some health on other minions on the board.
And still no answer for this magic carpet from Hunterace.
It's damaged as well, so he can't even seal Fate to catch up
Yeah.
some of the health. Oh, excuse me, hiccup.
You got hiccups over there, mate.
I would love to not have hiccups or start having hiccups. That was the first one, hopefully the last.
Okay.
So many options.
Praise Galacrond and, like, value bump the magic carpet to soften it up, maybe?
He has to start doing something to it, because you can't just accept the fact it's going to live all game, right? I think there needs to be a plan to kill this at some point.
But then, of course,
This
you
should-
are just leaving all the damage up on the board and allowing it all to just, you know, freely go face or trade as it pleases.
Backstab the 3-1.
Scary. Yeah, that's true.
I think Hunterace is in a scary spot almost no matter what play he makes there as well, so there's no guarantee. There's Nightshade to then proc the Hand of Gul'dan's again. Oof. Cool
Yep.
game though, because like I said, he has all of the cycle, but not the Scrap Imp, so he has to do it with the good old-fashioned normal or balanced minion health and attack, not the busted hand buff damage.
Yeah, very different from the ones we've seen so far, right? But the draw chain is insane here for Swidz. Like, very soon Swidz is just going to be rocking out with his deck in his hand. Because he's going to get more hands back in his hand. He's then going to Nightshade those hands away and draw even more cards. Like, we could see this Zephyrus be a real thing this game.
Yes, yeah. I think it is. It's literally a matter of time. It's not even in doubt for me. You could even just Evil Genius the 2-1 now if he really wants to, right?
Yeah.
Hunterace. I don't even want to know what he's saying, but it's not good. Someone get that guy an ice cream. Except Doa. Don't get him an ice cream if your name is Doa.
This does float a mana this turn, which, as you well know, Raven, does not sit very well with me, but it does, even if the Expired Merchant doesn't die this turn, right, he does still have the option to just Evil Genius Nightshade Matron immediately, so I guess it's still fine. But it did look a little bit weird, because the Evil Genius play did just fill his curve better that turn. Obviously, playing 1-drops is the business that he's in while he has Magic Carpet in play, so maybe that is allowable in this spot, but looked like a little bit of a weird turn to me.
The best part is it's like, just clap without your elbows on the desk, and I imagine it will stop moving the camera.
Yeah.
Unless his camera has like a clapper on it for some reason, like a light. You know, you just clap it and it moves. It's like...
Meanwhile, on the other side, Hunterace has just clapped himself immediately out of the frame. He just doesn't want to be here anymore.
No. He doesn't even want to make a play. Look at him. He's just like, whatever I do sucks.
Yeah.
If he plays a minion, it just makes this makes the 2-1 just be able to trade off easily, right? That's the frustration as well. I know we can see that Swidz can do it no matter what, but Hunterace doesn't know that.
Alright, I mean, he has Lackey into Faceless Corruptor next turn, which feels like the first powerful turn that he has available. And again, we might see the Nightshade get held here, because there's just no real reason to have a 5/5 rush right now. But at the same time...
Is there a reason to do anything else subtle? I want to have that Zephyrus yellow, not green.
Well, he has an Expired Merchant, so he can do the same thing anyway. And just still have a 5/5 rush in his hand?
So
I
many
guess he is losing out on board presence, though, if he does that, right? Like, his board looks a lot wimpier.
Well, there's still extra cards that he gets to play this turn if he plays the...
I guess. Yeah. Okay.
You can see he's not entirely happy with the options either, just from the facial expressions, but I think this is stronger. No?
He also just has fought... It's tough. I don't know, honestly. I just don't know. That's Mantis all. Oh, jeez. Let's see the double scrap him turn. I mean, it probably won't matter now because there's Soulfire, 2 Kobold Lackeys, and maybe, I don't see that, but maybe soon as Zephyrus. So that just looks like a kind of a 2-turn lethal setup for me.
Yeah, let's see if I can have a look. So 2 of us in the deck remaining. I think he is pretty close.
It's lethal.
Is this just lethal?
Yep.
Well, then I'll stop looking for 2 orbs, because it doesn't matter. Wait.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11,
Not
Soulfire.
twice.
Yeah, please
Not
count.
Twice. We'll let you get away with it once, but not twice. There we go.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Here's a free tip for everyone. If you've got Kobold Lackeys in your hand, count lethal every turn. Like, just because. But yeah, I am glad Swidz saw that. But that is going to be Hunterace swept by this Zoo list, and I am already looking forward to seeing this list all over Ladder right now. Because if it's doing good in Americas, it's doing good in Europe. I'm just going to wait next week for APAC to catch up, and then we'll see it across the world.
Very, very impressive performance from Swidz. Almost fell back into his previous series there, where I do believe there was a Miss Lethal in the previous series. That one was even more straightforward, which would have been potentially unforgivable. But I think, you can see that deck is not as straightforward as people would have had you believe that like old versions of Zoo were, even though, by the way, they weren't. They were still incredibly difficult to play. But that one, just in terms of like raw decision points and just the amount of cards, the amount of options that you have on any given turn, how to navigate through various curves. I think it's a very complex deck to play. Swidz certainly seemed like he was in good control of it. There are some question mark turns for me, but I am no means the level of expert in that deck just yet to be able to call anything out definitively. But there was 1 or 2 things that didn't sit right with me, but Swidz certainly did enough to stomp over our former world champion in Hunterace.
He really did, and congratulations to him making it through the group and then it's going to be joining us tomorrow in the top 4. Going to be an exciting one as well, and going to feel good for him as well, because after week 1 seeing Felkane and seeing Zim do so well, probably feeling like, okay, look, I was the original French player in GM. Let me show you what's what. And he gets it done this week. So I'm excited, and also I'm very happy that we saw from that deck the nuts, and then just a scrap imp, and then just the card draw. Just to see how each of those factors actually plays out. And obviously, it was only a few games, but it's a game that displayed a good wide selection of the deck capabilities for me.
And just one final point before we move on now to Boston versus Viper, which is going to be our next series. I brought up the history and how they had perhaps one of the most important matchups last year in GM. That was actually pretty similar to what went down in that matchup, where it really felt like Hunterace just didn't get to play Hearthstone. So maybe Swidz is just Hunterace's demon at this point. Like, the deck just gets stacked against him whenever he comes up against Swidz. We'll have to see how that one develops.
Yeah, it could be quite a valuable thing, Hunterace's kryptonite, wouldn't it? To put a stop to him at some point in his lifetime of Hearthstone career. But yes, you are right. We are going to be moving on into Boston versus Viper, and